Hey there, I'm Yankel, and I'm gonna show you how to make perfect premium steak tips. But first, we have to get them defrosted. Now, when it comes to meat that's been cut into smaller pieces, it takes a little bit longer to defrost. So what we're gonna do is put it in a bowl of cold running water, and it's gonna take about an hour there. Or you can put it in the fridge the night before, and it'll be ready when you're ready to cook the next day. What we want is water flowing over the surface as much as possible. So I fill the bowl all the way up, and then I lower the tap to a trickle and just let it flow until it's ready. Again, with cut up pieces like stew beef or these premium steak tips, it takes about an hour. Well, lucky for you, we work in a test kitchen and time is relative. So I happen to already have some steak tips defrosted. Now, when it comes to getting a good sear, which is where we create flavor, we want to make sure that surface is dry. So the first thing I do is put them down onto a paper towel and make sure they are as dry as I can get them. Anytime there's moisture, that moisture will steam, and the steam slows down the searing process. So we're going to get them nice and dry. Well, our steak tips are nice and dry. And we're going to use a non-stick pan today because we're going to incorporate barbecue sauce into the cooking process. And that barbecue sauce is going to turn sticky, it's going to caramelize. I want easy cleanup. So the first thing we're going to do is preheat our pan. Medium to high heat. So if you're using a gas burner, go all the way up and then turn it down just a notch. Electric burner, same idea, about 7/10 of the way up. Here's the key to getting a good sear with lots of small pieces of meat. We don't want to overcrowd the pan. So what we're going to do is we're going to sear them in 2 batches. First thing we're going to do is season them with a healthy dose of salt and pepper. Not all salts are created equal. Get a good coarse kosher salt with some texture. That's what makes meat taste really good. And fresh cracked black pepper. Really amps up the flavor component. And now we'll just flip that over and season the other side as well. Now, when it comes to searing in a pan, the oil you choose is important. You can use any oil you prefer as long as it's refined, which means it has the impurities taken out of it, which means less scorch flavor under high temp, and that it works well under a high temperature so that it's not going to burn as the pan starts to heat up. So we're going to add a little bit to our pan, just enough to coat the bottom. And as you can see, as soon as the oil starts to move around, you know that pan is hot enough. So we're going to go in batches. We have enough here that I can do it in 2 batches, and we'll get a nice sear on every single steak tip. The browning process is so important. You don't want to skip it. That's where you really create flavor compounds. As the meat browns, it ends up tasting so much better. The other thing that's going to happen is they're going to give off a little bit of moisture. And as they give off moisture, the temperature in the pan is going to drop and the searing process is going to stop. So that's another reason why we'll do it in batches. Just about 1 more minute on the other side. You can see that nice brown crust is coming together. And then we're actually going to take them out of the pan. I have a clean pan ready to go. And I have a bowl, which I'm going to pour the excess moisture into. So we're basically going to repeat the entire process from the beginning 1 more time. All right, those look great. We're going to pull them out, put them right onto our tray. We're gonna pour the excess moisture out of the pan into the bowl. We're gonna start again with just a little bit more oil. And we're gonna repeat that process. And this way, every single steak tip gets that beautiful sear. Each one is gonna be as delicious as the next. We're gonna go right back into the pan. These are beautiful premium steak tips. That means they're cut from the high-end steaks like ribeyes, New York strip, filet. So we want medium rare to medium. That's gonna be the perfect temperature for a really juicy, tender texture. We're gonna finish the cooking process with some barbecue sauce. And remember, have patience. For the first 2 minutes, those steaks are in the pan because that's when all the beautiful flavor gets built. And I just push down on the surface a little bit to make sure there's as much contact with the surface of the pan as possible. More brown means more delicious. All right, time to give those a flip. We're gonna actually add our other steak tips back to the pan. Give it about 30 more seconds and then we're ready to add barbecue sauce. I mean, look at that beautiful crust that's happening. The less you overcrowd the pan, the more you get a nice, healthy sear. That crust, that is what makes these so delicious. All right, I think we're ready to add barbecue sauce. Homemade, obviously, my favorite kind, but use whatever you like. And we're gonna pour it in. And stir it up. Make sure each steak tip is coated. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it cook down a little bit. We want the barbecue sauce to caramelize. You want a little bit of that sugar burn, that char that you'd get if you grilled them. That's really gonna add to the flavor here. So we're just gonna let that go. And the beauty of the nonstick pan, as you can see, there's gonna be no mess to clean up afterwards. The sauce doesn't stick to the bottom. Super easy, incredibly delicious, perfectly cooked. I prefer my steak tips right around medium. So we're looking at around medium rare on the big guys. Means the little ones are probably done, which they are. I'm gonna turn the heat off. Those steak tips are gonna continue to cook for 5 or 6 minutes, and I'm gonna leave them in the sauce. As they continue to cook, they're actually gonna absorb more flavor. When they're hot, that's when they're at their most absorbent. We want all that flavor in there. We're gonna let them rest about 5 minutes. Well, let's put those on the platter and we're gonna hit them with a little bit of scallion for color and crunch. Scallions are barbecue meat's best friend. God, that's so good. I don't know if there's an easier way to make dinner. I really can't think of one. This thing takes about 10 minutes total time. It's barbecued, it's delicious. Premium steak tips are amazing. Go cook something.